The Yom HaGirush, the 30th of November, is official memorial day in the Israeli calendar to mark the departure and expulsion of more than 850,000 Jews from Arab countries and Iran respectively in the 20th century, where the Jews were living in these territories for more than 2,600 years, even predating the First Temple era, when the Bet HaMikdash, the temple, was dwelling in Jerusalem, in Yerushalayim respectively. Mostly the Jews from these lands were of Sephardim and Mizrahi backgrounds. And more than half of the country of Israel nowadays comprises of Mizrahi and Sephardi Jews. The statistics provided by the Jewish Virtual Library is staggering with regards to how the demographics had changed from pre-1948 to modern day with regards to the Jewish communities that were established in these different Arab countries. For example, in the country of Morocco, in the year 1948, there was a staggering community of 265,000 Jewish people living there. However, in 2019, it was reported that there was only 2,100 Jews left, talking about a mass exodus from an Arab country. Another example is Algeria, where in the year 1948, there was 140,000 Jewish people thriving over there and living there and contributing in such a rich way. However, in the year 2019, only 50 Jews left. In the country Tunisia, another place with a rich heritage of Jews, it was 50 to 100,000 Jewish people living there in the pre-1948 era. However, in the year 2019, it was reported that there was only 1,000 Jewish people left. Another country with rich Jewish heritage of great thinkers and poets and contributors was Libya, where there was 35,000 Jewish people living there, whereas in the year 2019, there was barely no Jews left reported inside that country. Iraq was a place where there was a lot of rich Jewish thinkers over there, great rabbis and spiritual leaders there. There was poets, there was judges and actors and businessmen and finance people that were living there and contributed so much to Iraqi country. However, in the year 20 before 1948, there was reported to be 135,000 Jewish people living there, whereas in the year 2014, it was reported to only have 7 Jews left in Iraq. Egypt, another rich country of Jewish heritage and Jewish people are providing so much for this country. There was reported to be 75,000 Jewish people living there pre-1948, whereas in the year 2019, there was reported to be a meager 100 Jewish people dwelling in Egypt, respectively. Yemen and Aden, another different territory, where there was reported to be 60,000 Jewish people there, once again providing a lot of great substance to the country itself. And whereas in the year 2016, it was reported to be only 50 Jewish people left over there. And Iran, a country where I descend from originally, my family descend from, it was reported in the year 1956 to have 65,000 Jewish people living there. And it's a country where the Jewish people provided so much in business and all the various different industries and were loyal. However, in the year 2019, there was a meager reported to be 8,200 Jewish people left. Close to 700,000 of these Arab refugees, Jewish refugees, actually settled in Israel and didn't complain, they didn't moan and groan, and have now established themselves in all walks of the fields in Israel and are flourishing now throughout the Israeli society and were embraced by Israel. And these are refugees, whereas many other of the refugees are now dwelling in the United Kingdom, in America, Canada, France, and all over the world, respectively. And according to the organization of the name of the World Organization of Jews from Arab Lands, it was predicted in the year 2007 and estimated that value losses of $300 billion was reported from the lands which the people had left when they had been expelled from these lands, respectively. And that was in 2007. And bear in mind, there's been a huge amount of inflation since those years. Imagine what the figure would be now. And also, it was estimated that the Jewish-owned real estate that was left behind in the Arab lands was described to be at about 100,000 square kilometers, which, interesting enough, is around 4 times the size of the land of Israel, respectively, which is absolutely phenomenal and needs to be reported a lot more within regards to the international media. More can be reported within regards to this. There was huge anti-Semitism, especially during the time of Nazi Germany, where we saw the devastating consequences that the European Jews had suffered so much, which was unfathomable and absolutely devastating. However, also the Arab world had imported these European ideas of Jewish conspiracies and control. And it was reported that the Palestinian Mufti of Jerusalem, who was led by Hajj Amin al-Hussein, he collaborated even with the Germans and the Nazis and was tried to hurt all the Jews and encourage the hurt of Jews all across the world, across the globe, unfortunately. And some say that the Jews left behind in properties twice the amount that the Palestinians claim they had left behind in Israel when they had left at one stage or another. So one could say, why is this relevant nowadays? Why we have to do a commemoration day? We've seen that so many of these refugees are flourishing in Israel. They started from scratch again. They didn't moan and groan. They continued. They were a beacon of shining hope for all the world societies and all the world communities. How they had started from scratch and have now such vast, great positions all over the world. So why is it relevant? However, it's very much relevant, and hence we've got the commemoration day. First of all, for 5 main reasons. Why is it? Let's look. Let's explore. The first reason could be that if there's going to be a greater exposure of the cause of these Jews, of what has happened to them, of the suffering they had been inflicted upon themselves, and the great losses that had occurred, and many people also were killed within regards to this period, it can bring about peace and reconciliation. It's a very important step within regards to those things. A second aspect could be looked at, that it's not fair. It's got to be retold. The story of the Jews of being forced out from these Arab territories and countries has been ignored, neglected, and falsified. And this is a major wrongdoing of international media. So this has to be re-explored and re-educated to the world communities. A third reason is that justice that is given and which is procrastinated, which is delayed, is like justice which is denied. And that's what has happened to the Arab Jewish communities, that they had never received justice for all the atrocities that had occurred within regards to those Jewish communities having to flee from these lands. A fourth reason could be that the Jewish people in these countries had provided so much great heritage and great contribution and loyalty. And it's actually staggering that the ancient Jewish communities, they must be honored within regards to this. They had departed in the most worst way possible from these countries. There must be great honor that is given back to them from the whole world communities, and it should be recognized. It should be educated in universities, in schools across the world, the atrocities that had happened to these Arab Jews. Especially, even there should be museums and education centers teaching and exploring what had occurred and all the suffering that had been inflicted upon themselves. And last but not least, the Arab League states need to own up for all that they have done, all the responsibilities and all the wrongdoings they have done to all these Jewish communities over these years, because this has to be owned up and has to be admitted. Remember, the UN themselves said that 856,000 Jews had departed from the Arab lands, whereas the Palestinians, according to the UN, was only 711,000 reported that had left Israel, respectively. So it's a much higher amount of of Jewish refugees compared to the Palestinian refugees. So once again, that's also not fair by the media. And that thing is, what can we do nowadays? We can report to our local councillors or MPs if we're living in England about these injustices that has taken place to the Arab Jews, the descendant Jews from these territories. We can complain within regards to this. We can re-educate people, as I had stated before, about all these wrongdoings. Whenever the international media would sympathize with these supposed refugees of the Palestinians, it is not fair when they are not mentioning the 856,000 Jews of Arab descent that had been departed from all these different territories. And so much more should be done, and hence we've got this commemoration day, this devastating day of the Yom HaGirush, where we commemorate these precious 856,000 Jews that were expelled or had departed from the Arab lands. And we must re-educate the whole world within regards to this, and justice must be done within regards to this topic. I want to wish you all a fantastic day.